What is up, down and sideways, you glorious individuals? Welcome back to League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, beauties. We got a little bit of off-season housekeeping to get to because we're still fully entrenched in rumors, nothing confirmed, but we are building up to have an absolutely insane off-season in Europe, and of course, at the forefront of that is G2 losing a couple of its members, core members, and this was dropping basically immediately after G2 lost at Worlds that Yike and Mikyx, are out for 2025.
Yeah, that is the news that came very shortly after the loss for G2 that eliminates them from this current World Championship. They are losing Yike and Mickey from the roster. This is going to be one of the ones where it's going to have an effect not only on G2, where the players are leaving and you're going to be replacing them type of situation. It's going to have an effect on the rest of the LEC where these two land, because it is by no mistake, these are certainly talented, skilled players that have built up the experience, both on completely different ends of that spectrum. When you're talking about someone as young as Yike and someone like Mickey, who's got that big-time veteran experience that he can bring to the table, it's going to change the landscape of the LEC, no question about it.
And okay, first and foremost, you look at G2. Okay, Yike and Mickey gone. Already know the main rumored replacements. That's Labrov coming over from BDS and Skewmond replacing Yike as the new upstart rookie jungler in the LEC. This is a dude who's been incredibly hyped up. Won EU Masters, won LFL Summer, got MVP in LFL Summer, also out of BDS Academy. So basically G2 just kind of fleecing BDS this offseason.
Oh, man. Let's start in the bottom lane with Labrov. When we're looking at this one, the comparison to Mickey is not going to be necessarily a kind one to Labrov, especially when you're talking about the playmaking, the secret sauce that Mickey has always been able to bring to the table for the G2 formula of dominating Europe. Labrov is going to be no slouch stepping into this G2 lineup. I think a lot of people are looking at that type of comparison and going, oh, well, it's not even close. He's not good. That's not the situation. It's more so about obviously the history and the big plays and creativity that Mickey brought to the table. I don't think you're quite getting with someone like Labrov, but as far as that 2v2 in the bottom lane and then later on into some of the extended team fights in the mid to late game, I think he still can bring that championship quality support role.
And, I think it's still a bit of a question mark, even though Labrov has been around for a couple of years now and has had kind of a tumultuous career. He kind of got scapegoated on that star-studded Vitality roster, and then at times on BDS, we were talking about him as one of the 2-3 best supports in all of EU. Obviously, champions like Rel, he's one of the best in the league at. I'm excited to see him on a star-studded G2 roster because the core there is still star-studded. We'll see what losing the leadership of Mickey does, but really, Broken Blade, Caps, and to a lesser extent, Hansama. These are super vocal guys. If you listen to any of the comms, Broken Blade is constantly talking, probably the most vocal top laner that we have in most of the major regions. So I actually don't think, in terms of shot calling, Mickey, obviously he'll be missed, but not to the degree that maybe we're expecting. And Skewmond is the exact same position that Yike was in a couple years ago when he joined G2, the most hyped up ERL jungler, fitting into a team full of veteran leadership. I think he's even a little more hyped than Yike was coming out.
The question for me with this one is whether it's worth it to hit that reset button on the jungle position in particular for G2, because Yike, yes, there still are a couple of shortcomings, still things to learn, experience to gain, all these type of things, but the raw fundamentals, that skill set that you want, it's there. That's what you're looking for when you're searching through these, EMA and everything else to find one of these young talented players. The question for me again, is it worth it to hit that reset button on Yike to bring in me? And what you're going to see is whether he has that raw talent, that raw expression of skill that's going to be that higher ceiling to build towards with that experience that you'll be gaining through. That's going to be my question with it. I do want to revisit back to talking about Mickey leaving and the shot calling role and what that's going to be like for G2, because there's a lot of situations where at times you talk about it and there's just an absolute vacuum. There's nothing that's been filled in to that type of spot. But I think when you're talking about a team like G2 that has the established veterans still on this lineup, like Broken Blade, Caps, Hansama, it's an opportunity. It's an invitation really for them to step up, to take another step forward, take another piece of the pie of what is this shot calling arrangement for G2. And I think for players like Broken Blade specifically, this is a good challenge for him to take that next step, to take another level to evolve in his career. This is an opportunity to do so.
And the truth is, with BB and Caps, those are solo laners. G2 are going to be the favorites, basically, whatever other roster moves are happening. But yeah, you might think Scumon's ceiling is a little bit higher than what we got out of Yike. So potential there for G2, but obviously still lots of question marks. The domino effect of where Yike and Mickey go could have a huge impact on the rest of the league, whether or not they go together somewhere or separately. I think there's kind of three teams I've seen whispered around, and the three that probably make the most sense for them, again, whether it's together or separate. If you put them as a package deal, you could be looking at Giant X and throw in whether or not, I hope the Antonio maybe isn't the returning top laner, but Patrick and Mickey have already played together on what was then XL. Yike gets thrown in there, and Jackie's, of course, is one of the most hyped up young rookie mid laners. That seems like a pretty nice fit.
Which, hey, just checking in on this one, shout out not to G2 because they don't really deserve credit for this type of situation, but thankfully no poison pill contracts in this type of situation. This is one of the ones that we talked about why we ended up where EU's performance is at the current level at the World Championship, where G2 is compared to the rest of the LEC. Poison pill contracts can play a lot into that, and we don't get that with Yike and Mickey, so they will be spread around, raising up the rest of EU and raising up potentially that Giant X roster with Jackie's. That would be one that I am excited about. You already mentioned in the top side, rumored to be the Antonio returning. That is a bit of a pain point, a bit of an issue where you look at this and you start to then lower that ceiling.
Get ready for Ornn, buddy.
Yeah, what type of potential you can expect from this team. But when you think about, okay, Jackie's and what he brought to the table this past year, combining that possibly with the synergy you could build with Yike in the jungle, the creativity from Mickey in the bottom lane, and then Patrick and Mickey, that's a bottom lane duo that we've seen before, and we have seen find its stride and also not find its stride in the LEC. So it's one of these ones where, again, I think you're going with a somewhat known commodity into that bottom lane, but still with that question mark of there is potential to hit a higher level of expected performance.
The other super interesting one is Carmine Corp. And there was already a rumor that G2, this is the year that Kalist is coming up, getting promoted to the LEC. I feel like we've been talking about this superstar 80 carry phenom for like 2+ years now. But it was rumored that G2 was offering Yike, Mickey, and Hansama, and willing to pay the buyout for this rookie to come over to G2. And K-Corp said, no thanks, especially because now Mickey and Yike as free agents could just go to K-Corp for free.
Pretty smart at the end of the day, all things considered. But man, what a juicy nugget to drop out and hear about that, the exciting potential, the verification, really, validation from G2 identifying in and saying, yeah, what's been going on down there? That's a hot ticket. We need that guy on our team if we want to be the top ones in the LEC. BD, you got to be giving credit over to the Blue Wall. They hold strong. They stay and keep their young, talented prospect with them. An exciting option heading into this next year for K-Corp and what they can build around him.
Yeah, obviously having a couple of veterans around their young phenom. I mean, you've heard current, former pro players talking about this guy and like hyping him up to no degree before he's even played a single LEC game.
You go in, you look at the numbers, you go in, you watch the gameplay, and it absolutely verifies what is going on, what the hype is about this player and what he can bring to the table. I am so thrilled that they have believed in him, though. That is one of the most amazing things. Yes, you can make a world where he's on G2, the big juggernaut of Europe, and that's exciting. But I think having someone with this much hype, this much potential in such a key role like the ADC position in one of these other teams in the LEC, especially one with the backing and fan support like Carmine Corp looking to rise up, love to see that.
So the other potentially spicy roster to touch on, and this would not be the package of Yike and Mickey, because Fnatic, it sounds like Oscarinin, they already re-signed. Pretty sure Razork's coming back. Sounds like Humanoid is likely coming back. We already heard Noah immediately after their Weibo series said, thanks for the run, guys. I'd like to no longer be part of this team. You had Jun kind of talking about things during Worlds. I'd be surprised if he's returning. So if it's a new bot lane for Fnatic, I've seen maybe Mickey coming over to the black and gold, and Mr. Upset being reunited for what feels like the third time coming back to Fnatic, but potentially going back to an all-EU bot lane.
Oh, baby. Fnatic. Where to start with this one? Of course, you start probably with the returning players, as you laid out. Oscarinin confirmed in that top side. Razork, Humanoid expected to be coming back now at this point. Where do you build from here? How do you improve? How do you ensure that you are not getting the same problems, the same gaps that you had at the key moments for this team? In the bottom lane, you had, of course, Noah immediately, as you laid out after the Weibo series, say, I talked to the team. I don't want to be on this team. Pretty clear and cut from that point on. And I'm pretty sure, as you said, Jun talking not necessarily so glowingly about the team or these type of things during the World Championship event. So I expect that is that package combo that will be out. They were not going to be returning for Fnatic. And where do you go? Mickey is that top option in the LEC right now. I think you can maybe, sift through, scour around and find a couple of options. But if you really want to be the Fnatic, the black and gold that is challenging G2, that is that real runner at the top of the LEC, you got to bring in Mickey. He is certainly that option for you. He's still got a lot of runway left in his career and what he can bring to the table, that creativity that we talk about. That's absolutely an angle Fnatic could use a very healthy dosage of, to shake things up, to spice it up for themselves. And Mickey is a great place to start.
Now, I think a lot of people would say, were the main issues for Fnatic really the bot lane throughout the year? Probably not. More so at times the synergy with the top side of the map. So we'll see if bot lane changing does anything. Another guy that you've heard really nothing about in this offseason is Berserker. I don't even know what region this guy's leading towards, but he would fit in nicely as a replacement to Noah, maybe even on a G2 squad if he decides to go to the LEC. Like, he's still one of the biggest question marks in this free agent market.
And I think that comes down to really the question mark of nobody really knowing what Berserker wants, right? Nobody's got that type of leaning towards whether he has decided, I got to go back to the LCK and I'm looking for that opportunity there. Maybe I'm looking for a bigger cash out or something along those lines, and still staying in that top tier of Eastern region, going to the LPL type of situation. Or is he staying in the Western side of the world and going into the LEC? Absolutely, I see no possible chance that there's an opportunity for him in the LCS. Not that he's not good enough to jump in. I just don't think that he would ever take one of those opportunities at this point, having stepped away from Cloud9. It wouldn't make sense. So the LEC is it. And as you laid out, Fnatic would be an unbelievable landing spot. G2 would be a scary landing spot for the rest of the LEC, for them to add up another point, another level up with Berserker. But if you are one of these LEC teams, I don't know how you're not screaming from the rooftops, preparing the most amazing luxury package possible to secure Berserker for you, because he is, no questions about it, the most dominant player that you could add to the LEC this year.
We're talking all about Europe today, but really all the major regions are shaping up to have an absolutely nutty offseason, with key orgs losing key players, whether or not, and lots of tasty-looking free agents on that market. But this is just the beginning. Once Worlds actually finishes is when all the drama finally comes in, and that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, beauties. Thank you so much for hanging out and supporting, and we will catch you on that 50 flippity flop.